following us. And welcome to our podcast for newly discovered us. We are going live every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It is Diabetically Speaking with SmartMove360. My name is Irina Strunina, and let's go. All right. Hello, Hannah.
Hi.
Again, welcome back, everybody. This is Irina Strunina. We are starting today. It is Thursday, and on this podcast, we usually talk about diabetes and everything related to diabetes. And today, I have a very special guest. We have Hannah here. She is registered nurse. Hannah, welcome, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, Irina, thank you so much for having me. My name is Hanna Gleason. I'm a registered nurse with experience in diabetes. We had a pretty robust diabetes education program at the hospital that I work at. And I had a lot of patients with new diagnoses or new symptoms relating to their diabetes. So, in order to help those patients, I got involved with our diabetes education program in order to provide them with the support and the knowledge that they need to be able to deal with their diabetes.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for that.
Yeah.
I, I personally find it actually very rewarding for me and for people I work with because once our people understand what diabetes is and
Absolutely.
how it works, and they learn a little bit about themselves. And this understanding gives them a power, and this is rewarding because you see that you provided information that people were missing.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing that on your end. And also, thank you for coming to our
Yeah.
Telenor Tuesday cohort. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so very soon you will be able to speak with Hannah on our Telenurse Tuesday events that we are hosting every Tuesday. So that's something that we will talk about a little later.
Yeah.
And this month, I decided that we need to talk about caregivers because last month we were talking about support systems and stress management, and now we need to talk about um, caregivers because they are the next to medical staff people who are helping people with diabetes
Hmm.
to manage their diagnosis. And let me ask you this simple question.
Yeah.
Because I personally am a caregiver, so I
Okay.
feel that I'm an important person. But now, please,
Of course.
you, Hannah, tell why in managing diabetes it is very important to have a support system.
Absolutely. I think managing diabetes is a lifestyle change. And then when it comes to making any sort of widespread lifestyle change, there needs to be support behind it, or that change won't happen.
Mhm.
So when it comes to health and wellness, it's your diet, it's exercise, it's a continuing education. People have a hard enough time just changing their diet, but with diabetes, it's even more than that. It's getting the education, it's managing medications, it's managing knowledge, knowing your body, knowing what it feels like to be hyper or hypoglycemic. And if you're doing that on your own, it's too much to manage. So having a really good support system with caregivers who are also invested in
Mhm.
that lifestyle change, that's what's going to make the permanent lasting change that can mitigate diabetes live, long, healthy lives.
Yes, yes, thank you. I
Yeah.
I agree with you. And when sometimes when we're talking about the caregivers, people may say, "But I live by myself. I don't have caregivers." What would you say? Who people need to start thinking about? Because it doesn't have to have a person who will bring you water, even though it's a great thing, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
sometimes people who support you emotionally could
Yeah.
consider themselves caregivers. And
Absolutely.
so what would you say, where people can look for that kind of support, help, in your experience, where this help can be?
I would say if they're watching this podcast, they've already started to find a support system and a community of people with diabetes. So, right here, you found it. And I think the internet, that's one of the positive things of the internet, is that there are so many resources out there, of people with similar experiences and
Mhm.
caregivers who are offering their time and expertise and emotional support, through the internet. So I know the Facebook group, where we do the Tuesday night, go live to answer questions. You can absolutely put in your, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. How do I deal with these emotions of this new diagnosis?
Yeah.
And I'm sure through the Facebook page, you also have many more resources that I'm not even aware of yet. But that people can come and we can, put together that network of people and find those resources.
Yes, definitely, definitely. We um, also were talking, on our events that we organize, we were
Right.
talking about different ways how people, caregivers can contribute.
Yeah.
What do you think, what would you recommend to caregivers, how they can be most effective offering help?
I think the biggest thing with offering help is that for caregivers, they want to fix everything, right? Like, you're feeling uncomfortable right now, let me fix it. You're feeling hypoglycemic right now, let me, give you a snack. I think for a lot of people with a new diagnosis of diabetes, they just need to be heard. So
Mm-hmm.
having someone who will sit and listen, and validate feelings of, anywhere from, oh, this is kind of a bummer, to despair, like, oh, I feel like my life is over, which it is not with a diabetes diagnosis. There are absolutely ways to mitigate it, but that feeling is valid and they want someone to talk to. They want someone, that will listen so they can feel heard. It is hard. This diagnosis is hard. And I think for caregivers, just slowing down and being there for them. And obviously, yes, please fix things when they need to be fixed, but that's not everything. Just having a shoulder to cry on, is
Yes.
one of the biggest things.
Yes. I was listening to you and I just thought about something
Mm.
that a little parallel when people start taking medication, say with diabetes,
Mhm.
and do nothing in addition to it.
Mhm.
They solely rely on medication to keep them functional, to keep them going, to do right. And same thing if caregiver support system will take on themselves the whole weight, trying to ease the life of the person and allow them to continue living the same way, just taking
Totally.
themselves more weight. It's not really helping, right?
Yeah.
It
That's I think that's an amazing, insight into caregivers and what leads to, caregiver burnout,
mhm,
um, which is very real.
yes.
Taking on the weight of a new diagnosis from somebody. I think it's definitely they're there for support. I think we talked about support systems.
Mm-hmm.
Just they're there for support. So as a caregiver, that's also such a fine line to walk, like between being there and helping and supporting the person, and also um, not enabling that person
Yes.
to continue down this lifestyle and this unhealthy path that did lead to the diabetes
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's a lot of hope when it comes to managing diabetes. We have so much knowledge is power, right? Like we have so much
Yes.
knowledge. We have so many ways. We know work when it comes to managing diabetes, but it takes a lot of effort to implement those
Yes.
interventions. And it's just so much easier to continue the lifestyle you've been walking down. So at this state, while there's a lot of hope when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to diabetes diagnosis, there's also a lot of like, hey, we've got to change. And
What?
that's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And so the caregiver kind of being firm with, hey, you have to change, but also here's this hope that we can do this. So not enabling the continuation of this unhealthy lifestyle. Also drawing boundaries and saying, hey, I can't take this on for you. You do have to make these changes and decisions on your own, but I'm here to support you in them.
Yeah, yeah. I do, this is something that I was not very good at when my husband was diagnosed, and
I'm sorry. It's
I
hard.
was ready to jump on everything and do everything, but I
Yeah.
couldn't digest for him, and
Right.
I couldn't sleep for him, and I couldn't do this kind of activities of,
Right.
jump on in his sneakers and go for a walk. This was something that a person needs to take action and do.
Right.
And yeah, it was hard. I know, I can tell for sure it was hard, but at the same time the resistance builds this way, because when
Right.
you're trying to so hard to help,
Yeah.
person may close up. That's what happened
Exactly.
in my case. They say, you don't know what I feel.
Right.
How you can say that? Yeah, this is important to remember for
Right.
those who are providing support. The
Right.
support should not be very pushy.
Right. And there
Mm.
are caregiver support groups out there as well. Um, because that is, I mean, that's so hard
Yeah.
to be a caregiver, to know what's best for somebody, but not be able to actually implement those changes for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the stress of that's a mental load that leads to burnout pretty quickly. And so there are support groups for that as well.
Well, I actually, this is something that is important for our caregivers to remember,
Right.
uh, that there is, and I personally, right now, we are managing, working in this Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners. I already, reserved the name for the Facebook group Diabetes 101 for caregivers, but I
Oh,
did not start working on it because this our group taking a lot of my time, and I being a
yeah.
caregiver at the same time,
Yeah.
I just don't have bandwidth to take care of both websites, well, both
That's
Facebook
that's
groups.
totally fair.
But
Hopefully, maybe there's a caregiver out there who feels like they have it in their capacity to start the Facebook 101 for caregivers group.
yeah, well, I have a Facebook group to support me on that. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to do that, thank you, Hannah, for bringing it up. Reach out and we will work on this. I
Yeah.
know I have an experience how to work with the Facebook group. Now I can help and teach and do all that stuff.
There you go.
Okay, yeah. Look, we just ran into something that I didn't expect.
Yeah. We're out here networking.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Well, okay. we were talking about importance for care. You said it. I didn't talk about it. You said it,
Mm,
that for caregivers it is very important to listen to people who they care for, and
mm.
it's not even only diabetes, right? It could
Oh
be
yeah.
relationships. It could be kids. It could be elderly parents, and sometimes those who we care for, they feel like we are not listening,
Yeah.
and that's something that is important to remember. Of course, I one thing I like to bring up all the time, as human, we learned a lot as human in the process of development of our, human society. We learned a
Hmm.
lot of science, we learned a lot of psychology, astrology, everything. The one thing that is still to be somehow developed is to learn how to read minds.
Oh, if
So
only.
the point what I wanted to bring up is, um, if you want to get help in a certain way, please don't expect your caregiver to recognize that specific way.
Right.
So, something for people who have caregivers and say that they don't listen to me, try to reverse it. Maybe your caregiver is trying to help you too hard,
Right.
and ask them to, look, I appreciate so much that you're cooking for me, but when you boil those vegetables, cook those vegetables, can you don't mash them that much? I mean, I like vegetables, but not when they're so soft that they don't even, you don't need to chew on them.
Right.
What would you say on that? Did you hear
Um,
those situations?
I mean, that's just a whole it's adding a whole new dynamic to relationships, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's a much broader it's how do we communicate? Whereas before the caregiver and now person with a new diagnosis of diabetes may have been living very similar lives in their communication. They had it down pat, but now you're adding in a huge change. And to
Yes,
mitigate that together, or to navigate that together is going to be really tough. And it requires a lot, like a new relationship dynamic is what you're explaining, right?
definitely.
It's like you may be showing love in one way, but they don't receive it that way. I know there's a lot of talk about love languages, and we can probably um, relate that here. So, like giving and receiving help, you know,
Mhm.
um, you may think that you're helping someone by cooking for them. That's an act of service, but they don't receive it that way because what they need is words of affirmation. They need you to tell them that they're doing a good job, that they had their 3 servings of, or how I think it 5 servings of vegetables these days. They
Depends on the
had
size.
their recommended daily intake of vegetables that day, and you need to affirm that for them.
Yes.
And so it's sitting down with your partner, and if there's frustration, anytime there's frustration, that's an opportunity to sit down and work through it and say, hey, get to the root of it. What is the frustration here? You feel like I'm not listening to you. But from my perspective, it feels like all I do is listen to you. And then they can say their piece and you can say your piece. And hopefully, um, find a way where the help is received in a good way, in a constructive way.
And,
But it
and
really is. I mean, it's so hard. Relationship dynamics and communication are so difficult.
yes, yes, and thank you for bringing it up, because sometimes people forget about it. Sometimes
Yeah,
it is, I am focusing totally on myself. I need to take care of myself, and forgetting that other people also have their lives, and they have their challenges outside of the household. Maybe somewhere, I don't
absolutely.
know, maybe the car is running low on oil, and it's very hard to find time to go to mechanic and change the oil, and that brings extra pressure on the person. So
Right.
um, a lot of things that we don't think usually about, sometimes in relationships may pay a big toll if we don't do that.
Right. Right. And sometimes there are things we don't even realize are taking a toll or adding to our mental load. We don't even realize because they've been there for so long.
Hmm.
Um, and things will come up, especially in the caregiver patient relationship. Um, it's things are going to come up, frustrations are going to arise. I think having the patience and the awareness to sit down and talk about the frustration.
Hmm.
And that takes a lot of energy on both sides. But I think if you put that work in on the front end or wherever you are in the process, if you sit down and start that work, then it can alleviate so much stress down the line.
Definitely.
To talk through those frustrations and figure out, a more sustainable way to give and receive care.
Definitely, because frustration builds up on both ends.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. And, it's really easy for the patient to say, "Oh, well, I'm the one dealing with this. Um, what
But
do you have to complain about?"
yeah.
But it really is the caregiver cares. That's why they're doing it.
Hmm.
And that caring about, the life of another human being, that's enough to feel the same amount of stress.
Yes.
Um, so I think, yeah, and it takes that understanding on both sides, uh, that
Definitely.
I think
That,
appreciation too. People really love to feel appreciated,
yes.
for the caregiving, and that's hard to give. If you are dealing with diabetes, sometimes you just don't have more capacity to just sit down for a second and say thank you. Um, but it's nice to hear thank you.
Definitely. Definitely. Today is Thursday, and on Thursdays I usually go live in the morning in the group and saying thank you to people
Yeah,
um,
I love
who
that.
helping me. And
Yeah,
I decided to do it a little while ago, because when you think about it, you go through life, and you're receiving, and sometimes it's nice to point out that I noticed. I thank you for that. And
right,
the same time, you go out and you giving, and it's nice to hear back that uh, people appreciate what you are doing. So
right.
it's like thank you exchange on Thursdays. That's what I
That's so
decided that
great.
is.
I love that. I mean, gratitude, outward and receiving, gratitude. It's if you can always look around and find something you're thankful for.
Yeah,
And yeah, to say thank you, I love that.
yeah, that's
I think
that's
that's
what
so important.
I yeah, that's what I read somewhere and decided.
Sorry.
I guess.
We have
uh,
another guest here.
yes, so yes, I decided that that may work for me, and that also may help people who are surrounding me to hear that
Yeah,
I do notice and do appreciate and do care and all
right.
that. So
Yeah.
that's my
I
thing, but anybody
I
can do that, right?
absolutely. Yeah, gratitude all around, right?
Perfect. So before we close for today, Hannah, I wanted to ask you one question that is kind of closing. What
Yep.
would be your one suggestion for caregivers, so for them to know when they're taking care of someone? What they do need to know?
Oh goodness. I think everything we've covered in these past,
I mean,
30 minutes.
when if we repeat it one more time, it will not hurt. That
Right,
means it's just
totally.
very important.
Totally. I think the caregiver care receiver dynamic um
Hmm.
is going to be the most important thing, because if you're you're giving care and it's not being received well, then that's just going to lead to burnout and frustration on both sides. So sitting
Mm-hmm.
down and having a conversation and saying, how can I best help you? Here is how I see to help you.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things I would like to do. How is this received on your end? And how
Uh-huh.
can I change this?
Love it.
Asking that question just flat out. This is
Perfect.
how I would like to give you your care. Does this sound good? How can I change it?
Yes. Perfect. Open
Yeah.
conversation. Thank you, Hannah. This is a
Yes.
great recommendation, suggestion
Yeah.
to close our conversation for
Yeah.
today. Please don't leave yet. I
Okay.
need to make some announcements to make sure that everybody who is listening to us aware of what is going on in our Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners. And I would like to begin with this. Every Monday, we have Motivational Mondays, and Monica Henderson, our agent of change, goes live and she talks about the ways how we can improve and how we could stay motivated on our goals. Every Tuesday, we have Telenurse Tuesday when our nurses are going again live and what Hannah mentioned and answering questions that people post under their this banner. All right. On Wednesdays, not every Wednesday, but every other Wednesday, we have support group meetings where our group members and healthcare providers get together and talk about challenges and problems and celebrate the victories and support each other and pat each other on the shoulder. So that's on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. On Thursdays, of course, we have our Diabetically Speaking with SmartMove360 podcast. It goes at 4 p.m. Eastern Time live into our Facebook group and to several other platforms that I am a member of. And on Friday, we have Fitness Fridays with Trevor Brown when Trevor goes live at around 9 a.m. Eastern Time and talks about different exercises. He shows some of the activities that you could do, and he talks about the nutrition. He is also a nutrition coach. So this is something that everybody is welcome to log in and see it goes live. You don't need a special link for that. And one thing that I wanted to bring everybody's attention to is that this month, in last Saturday of April, April 27th, we will have our next Diabetic Healthcare Expo, where our healthcare providers will go live and they will be talking about all aspects of life with diabetes, what we need to remember to take care of, how we could manage our stress, how we could communicate with our families and our loved ones, and our other ways of finding help. So that will be Diabetic Healthcare Expo. Something that I wanted always to remind everyone that we are being supported by several very good companies: Mink Life Motivation, On Balance Entertainment, Life Based Solutions, and Empower People That Care. These are the companies that are helping me to be able to go live every week and do this podcast, invite those wonderful people, and help you to learn more about life with diabetes, how you can live it successfully and manage it without putting your too much strength on yourself. Well, this is it for today. Thank you very much, Hannah, for coming in and
Thank you.
talking with me. It was great conversation.
Yeah.
I wanted also bring up a point that if anyone wants to connect with Hannah, you could always go to Empower People That Care, find her picture there, click on her face, and schedule a call with her. I'm sure she will be happy to talk with you.
I'd love to.
So great, thank you. And with that, thank you very much. We will see you next Thursday. And for right now, I will just turn on the music. Have a great rest of the week.
Bye.